Hi, this is Henry Winkler.
Hi, this is David K. Harbour.
Hey, Debbie Gibson here.
Hi, this is Chaz Palminteri, and you're listening to Marta on the Move. You better listen.
I'm your host, Marta Mazzoni. Join us as we connect culturally through lifestyle, travel, and entertainment. Before we get into the episode, I just wanted to mention that I am hosting a weekly online stress relief and meditation Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nothing brings me greater joy than seeing my regular students and new faces pop up on my screen. You don't have to have any prior experience in yoga or meditation to join one of these classes. We breathe, we stretch, we connect the mind and the body, and we get ourselves prepped for the week. It is something I look forward to every single week, and it is donation based, meaning if you have $0, just show up and let me see your smiling face, or if you have something to give, it helps keep the lights on over at Marta on the Move. I would love to see you there. Sign up for the newsletter, and I send out the link every week. Here we go. It is the holidays of 2021. We are in the beginning of December. And to be honest, there hasn't been much I have wanted to talk about for the past couple months. Just taking some time, doing some healing, and, this past year's been kind of a shit show. But there has been something on my mind recently, mainly because of it is the holidays, and I finally feel like seeing other humans again, and that's great. But there's also a lot of talk out there about metaverse in Facebook, and our lives are becoming Ready Player One. And I was out with some friends the other, I want to say like 3 weeks ago, something like that, and we were all talking about how often people get to visit other people's houses, and like how often that happens, and a lot of them unfortunately said that they didn't get to visit a lot, and that made me extremely sad, because I personally think spending time in someone's home is one of the most intimate things that you can do. It's what I love to do when I travel. It's what I love to promote at home, and honestly, I have to admit, Phil and I mean, we get invited to a lot of people's houses, but not like as many as we would like. And I realized, taking a look at that part of that is on the guest side and the host side. It's both, because there's sometimes I want to hang out with people and I just don't want to have to deal with all the work that goes into hosting. So I wanted to create this episode that essentially just lists some tips for the people that are hosting an event to make your life a little bit more easier, and maybe hopefully you'll open your doors, and maybe not to us, that's totally cool if it's not to us, but just to friends and family and other humans, and creating different spheres of people hanging out. So without further ado, here are some of my lists, and please keep in mind, these are just my opinions. So if you don't agree with them, that's fine. These are not in any particular order. The first one I have written down is, don't let perfect get in the way of good. So this quote is something that I recently heard from a friend of mine, and it's so true. If you were hosting, your house does not have to be immaculate. Your food doesn't have to be great. People, when they come over your home, you're opening it up, and they just want to be there with you. They just want to experience it with you. And it's one of the reasons why, I think it's one of the main reasons why people don't host as much, is because they feel like their house has to be perfect. when really it's kind of the opposite, right? So when we go out to eat, we go out to dinner, like you kind of want everything to be perfect. You want the food to be great, you want the ambiance to be great, you want the service to be great. But when you open up your doors, you are inviting people in to see how you live. And I personally feel that that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give someone is to open up your home, to open up your life. And to me it says, "Hey, I'm comfortable with you. You know, I'm allowing you to kind of peek behind the curtain." I think that I personally think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it, you know, it's something that just stops us. So that's like my number one thing. Like, don't let perfect get in the way of good. If your house is a mess, you know, like don't let your underwear on the floor or anything like that. But it doesn't have to be spotless. It doesn't have to be dust free. You know, you could have a pile of books or whatever. And I actually say that to Phil all the time. He's like, "Our place is a mess." I'm like, "It's really not." Because if you think about this, how many times have you been invited over someone's house and you're just happy to be there? You're just happy to be there. You don't see what the people that living there, what they see. You know, when you live in a place, you look at stuff, you're like, "Ugh, that wall hasn't been painted and I've been wanting to paint it for 3 years." Like, people don't see that. They don't know. They're just excited that they got invited over somewhere and they're out of their pajamas. They made it out, or maybe they're in their pajamas, and you know, that would be me showing up in my onesie, but it's fine. So that's a big thing. Like, invite people into your sacred space and don't worry about what they see. Totally fine. Number 2. Oh, this is, yeah. Okay, so these are all out of order because I was just ranting. So I write my posts first because, you know, I write the post and then I record so I can have my notes, and these are all out of order. So it's fine. You might hear a couple different things, but these are lists for the host. If you are cooking, please, Lord, make something that allows you to actually hang out with your guests. Pre-make stuff. You know, don't make stuff that's like you're going to be stuck in the kitchen and you can't talk to anybody and you're stressed out and you're like a server at that point. And that's fine. If you guys are having like an intimate dinner party and you're serving, and you know, that's completely different. But if you're just having some people over, they are there to be with you. They're not, you know, they're not there to not see you. And it kind of sucks. And I've done this. Phil and I have been total, like, we've had parties where we have cooked some stuff and I don't even remember the party. Like, I just remember cooking the whole time and I didn't get to hang out with anybody, and it sucked. It like defeated the whole purpose. So make something ahead of time. If you are getting, you know, a large group together, have it done. Make, like, honestly, like a stew is really lovely in the winter. Something like that. My next one is for the hosts. Have clear boundaries. Another reason why I feel like a lot of people don't host is because they get exhausted. I mean, it's exhausting to host. It really is. You know, you put a lot of thought into it. You put a lot of worry. You think about menus. You think about themes. And by the time it's you almost don't even want to do it because you're tired. And then you have to clean up everything. It's awful. So this is a big one, and it's not going to be easy for everyone, but having clear boundaries and clear instructions for your guests will make your life so much easier. So what do I mean by that? For example, let's talk about taking off your shoes when you enter a house. everybody should kind of do this. This is not something overseas that is a question. You take off your shoes. Not only is it a sign of respect, but it's also like indicates welcome to my home. You know, that age-old saying, make yourself at home. There's definitely like a different line that is crossed when someone takes off their shoes. They become more relaxed, they become more comfortable. And at least, you know, at certain parties that I've hosted or certain parties that I've gone to, a lot of the hosts are like, no, 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 leave your shoes on, you're fine. But really, they don't want you to leave your shoes on. I don't think so, personally. I mean, I can say from experience now after hosting, I don't want anybody to leave their shoes on because it's dirty. It's, you know, it's kind of gross and it's loud. But here's the thing, we don't want to offend anyone, right? If you're hosting, you don't want to offend. So instantly you're like, yeah, it's fine. Giving a clear signal to the guests to leave their shoes on. I don't blame the guests, I blame the hosts. It's your boundaries. So have clear boundaries. Tell your guests, hey, we're a shoeless house. You know, take off your shoes, make yourself at home, please. If you are uncomfortable with doing that, and I know that can be you're like, oh my God, they're going to hate me. No, they just want clear rules. Everybody just wants clear rules, and they'll be fine. One thing to do is just send out a text before people get there and just give them a heads up. Be like, hey, you know, just as a heads up, we're trying to minimize our shoes in our house, so if your feet get cold, bring some slippers. Easy peasy. Oh, this is a good vein to stick with too, because I have a lot of bullet points in my post that are very, very, you know, they're surrounded by these boundaries, by these questions that people not questions, by these requests from the host that people should have, but it's really hard to have. So my next one, if you are a host, ask for help. Oh, so I did a podcast about asking for help after Neen died, when I realized I'm terrible at asking for help. Awful at it. I thought I was really good, but I'm not. I'm getting better, but honestly, it's not easy. It requires being vulnerable, and apparently I'm really terrible at that too. So, not terrible, but you know, you just don't realize it until you're confronted with it or you see it from somewhere else. So if you are a host, I will tell you, ask for help. This is the number one way to not get burned out and to ensure that you will host again. You know, there's nothing worse than hosting and then being like, I am never doing that again. I'm never doing it. It's terrible. So asking for help is how to get around this. And that can look like very, very different and various things. Asking for help can include being very clear about what you want a guest to bring. And I mean very clear. Like if you want a bottle of red, you know, wine from, I don't know, Oregon, because you're doing a wine tasting, tell them. If you want an appetizer, tell them. If you just need someone to hand out some cups or, you know, like even to clean off a table, ask. And this is in one of my bullet points as well, but I will mention it right here. Ask for help in the kitchen. This is a big one. So when I travel, my favorite thing to do, I think I talked about it, is taking a cooking class. And I have so many memories from when I travel, but I will tell you my most sacred and my most fond are these memories that I have taken cooking with other people, because you're building something together. You're creating something. You're sharing this experience. I mean, you are making food to nourish one another, and you're sharing a space, and that's where all the good stuff happens. Don't be a complete waiter at your party. Ask them for help. Ask them, be like, here's an onion, chop this up. That's kind of a shitty thing to ask somebody, unless you want them to cry along with you, which I might, but that's fine. But maybe give them, I don't know, like just ask them to jump in. Here's an apron. Here's a spoon. Can you stir this? And I guarantee part of you is if you're not used to that, you're going to hate it, especially if you're not used to sharing your kitchen. We become so like ingrained, right? This is my space. This is my kitchen. Nobody touch my stuff. Oh my God. Don't touch. Oh my God. They're touching my stuff. Lighten up. Please lighten up. Because, if you become so rigid, that's when you miss the good stuff. Like, that stuff is great. I don't know what type of family background, if you're listening to this, that you come from, but my family background is Italian and Lebanese. And on the Italian side, my grandmother, everybody pitched in. Everybody. I mean, everybody helped cook. Everybody was there making meatballs. Everybody set the table. Everybody did this. And those memories are some of my most cherished memories because we created everything together. We shared that space. It's so wonderful. So please, 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 if you're a host, don't be afraid to ask for help. And a little bit later in this podcast, I will talk to the guests because it's not all on the host. It's a two-way street on this relationship, and it takes work. All right, so we talked about the kitchen, we talked about cooking and all of that. That leads me to my next point. Sometimes you don't need any food to have a hangout. To have people over to your house and make it inclusive, you don't need food. I mean, snacks, yes. You got some nuts, whatever. But this leads back to being a great host and being very clear on what you're having at your house. Be very, very, very clear. If you are hanging out and you just want to play a game, or you're doing some type of, I don't know, task in your house and you just want some company, tell people that. And, something you can say is be like, yeah, hey guys, anybody want to, I don't know, play a game tonight? Just so you know, please eat before you come. We don't have dinner. We just want to get some people together and play a game. Like, we might have some, like, peanuts or something. Also, we have we have, some mulled wine on the stove, but please bring something to share with others that you would like to sip on. Very clear instructions. And that's okay. It comes back to that saying, the first one that I did, don't let perfect get in the way of good. You don't need to have an epic meal to have people over. You don't need a ton of food to have people over. Honestly, someone posted something on Facebook recently talking about how the art of doing chores with other people has kind of like disappeared. Like, hey, you want to go grocery shopping with me? Sure. Hey, I got to pick out a dress. You want to go? Yeah, sure. This is the same thing in your house. If you're like, right now I'm trying to build a gallery wall. Ugh, worst thing ever. I've realized this about myself, just a little side branch. I hate framing and putting photos and printing photos out. Like, I want pictures of all of my like greatest friends and family. If you come to my house and you don't see your picture and you're one of those people, I'm sorry, but it sucks. Actually, that's probably the greatest gift you can give me. Can you please print out a great family photo or a funny photo that you love, put it in a nice frame, make it ready to hang on a wall, and I'll put that photo up. It'll go up unless I don't know you, and then I won't put it up. But anyways, I digress. It's just something I'm really challenging. Back to the gallery wall. My example of this, I need help with this damn gallery wall. Like, I need help spacing this gallery wall. So I texted my friend Lisa the other. I'm like, hey, can you do you want to I don't know. And I felt awkward about it, right? Like, I felt weird. And that's strange for me. I'm a pretty inclusive person. I'm a pretty spontaneous and open person. But I know that when I feel weird about inviting someone over my house to do some weird menial, task, then other people have to feel this way. And it's one of the reasons why I recorded this damn podcast. That's nuts that I felt that way. And I instantly realized it right when she was like, yes, absolutely. That sounds like fun. And to follow that up, I said, okay, I don't have any food. We're pretty bare bones. So eat before you come, or, if you're hungry, we can order a pizza or something, whatever. Very clear. But I invited her in to do this task with me. And that is totally cool. I love that, actually, because it kind of brings back to that whole helping. You're creating something together. Like when I talked about being in the kitchen and cooking together, you're creating something together. You are helping someone. And when you help someone, you feel better. Like, end of story. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who you are. If you help someone, you automatically feel better. And you are now honored, right? Like, if someone called me up and asked me for help on something that they are doing in their house, I don't care what it is. I am honored to be asked because they thought of me. They thought I could help. Or at the very least, they just wanted to spend time with me, and maybe they didn't think I could help, but that's fine. I wouldn't know that. Don't tell me. But anyways, you see my point here. I'm not gonna harp on that too much. I will say, leading from that, my next point of not always needing food. Oh, okay, this is a good one and a hard one to learn because I am a pretty spontaneous person, but I am a planner. I plan things. Tell me if you felt like this before. Just take a moment and see if you have felt like I have felt. You wake up in the morning, you have a great idea. You're like, oh, you know what? I want to do a murder mystery. I'm just speaking from me. I want to do a murder mystery party. Those ones where you send out invitations, you do all these things, and blah, blah, blah. I want to do a murder mystery party. It's going to be so much fun. I know exactly who I want to invite. It's going to be, oh my God, it's going to be epic times. And you get excited. You pick the date. And you invite your friends. And the date's, probably some weeks away or a week away, something like that. And then the date comes closer. It keeps coming closer and closer. And you remember you have to pick up stuff to get it done. You have things to do to get it done. And then it comes even closer. Or maybe it's the day of and you're just tired that day. Or you rolled out of the wrong side of bed, or you pulled a muscle, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You don't need an excuse to have your feelings. This is also something I'm learning this year. You don't need an excuse to feel the way you feel. If you feel like shit in the morning, you can feel like shit in the morning. It's okay. You're human. Our lives, we have a lot of shit swirling around us in the world. It's normal. But I digress. Once again, it's okay to feel that way. But that happens often, right? When you plan something and then the date comes and you don't want to do it anymore. Same thing. It's the same thing for a guest. You agree to something. Somebody asks you, you're like, yeah, that sounds great. And then the day comes, you're like, I don't want to get out of my onesie. I wonder if maybe they would care if I wore my onesie. Speaking for myself. It always happens. It constantly happens. So my next tip that I would give, and I'm talking to myself as well, and I've been trying to do this more, and it's been really successful for me, is be more spontaneous. So if you plan an event a ways away, try and honor your commitments, right? Like birthday parties. Sometimes you just gotta go. It just happens. You can't always be spontaneous. You plan things, you go. If you're not feeling great, you're like, okay, fine, it's fine. But in my experience, the most awesome experiences are ones that are spontaneous. So what is today? Today is Tuesday. Like Tuesday, maybe like around 3:00, if I'm feeling having friends over, I'll text them and be like, hey, you want to come over? You want to build a puzzle tonight? I don't know, whatever. Because I feel it in that moment that I want to do it. Like I'm excited about it in that moment. And of course, you're not going to get everybody. People have plans, right? That's the thing. That's kind of like, we had this thing scheduled. We got to go to it. Sorry. Or, I'm not feeling well. It's fine. But you know who you are going to get? The people that are just as excited as you are to build that damn puzzle. So it makes for this magical, spontaneous experience because in our lives as humans, as we get older, surprises are kind of like harder to come by. Spontaneity is harder to come by, whatever the reason. I think it's just getting older and dealing with life's things, So bringing some of that spontaneity back, and I will say for hosting, this was very strange for me in the beginning. But I started exploring just meeting people for coffee or checking out a jazz set and be like, hey, who's available to do XYZ? And I won't get everybody. I might not get anybody. But I might get one or two people that are just as jazzed as I am to hang out. And it's such a great time. So I would say, don't think you need to have this epic plan to do things or the need to schedule something. And it comes back to not having a perfect space, not having an epic meal, not having all this food. If you're hanging out and you're like, I wonder if somebody wants to watch a movie with me tonight. I really want to watch, I don't know why, Sound of Music. I've really wanted to watch Sound of Music for the past couple months. I'll just text some people. Be like, hey, you want to come over tonight and watch Sound of Music? It makes you feel like a kid again, right? And we forget that. And that's okay. But we need reminded. we constantly need reminded. So try it out. It's going to be weird. I promise you. It'll feel weird, but then it'll feel good. It'll feel good because you know what? You are now making it the norm. And maybe your friends will think you're nuts because they've never heard you do that before. But that's okay because you're changing the narrative. You're doing something different. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. And that's what it's all about. And eventually those friends won't think it's new anymore. They'll just be like, yeah, that's cool. It's like calling someone for the first time that you've never called on the phone. And, you call them and they're automatically like, why are you calling me? But then, if you call them on the regular, they won't think it's so weird anymore. New stuff versus known stuff, right? It's a whole thing. I could talk about that forever. What is next? Don't always need food. Don't worry about your place being spotless. Kitchen takeover. Oh, okay. So now you're having an event, whether it's spontaneous or planned. Have a theme. If you are a person that suffers from social anxiety or likes the idea of inviting people to your house, but once they get there, you're like, what do we do? Have a theme. So no matter what you're doing, have a theme. Have some sort of idea behind what you want to do. If it's building a puzzle, build a puzzle. If it's reading from a script, that's one of my favorite hangouts, is reading plays and passing it back and forth and everybody does the voices. It's so much fun. If it's having game night, Whatever it is, just make it a thing so that people know why they're coming over. If people want to come over, I mean, it's very specific. If you want to have somebody over because you just want to talk and sit and have a drink, just tell them that. But if you're having a couple people over, that's not like a one-on-one, humans are awkward. They just are. You put them in a space and you're like, oh, okay, I gathered you guys here and you should be fine. And they are normally. But having a theme or even added on to that an icebreaker, kind of like a question or like a game or something that keeps their hands busy, gets them out of their heads, is a great idea. So whatever that is, doesn't matter what it is. It could literally be anything. I'm not going to talk about more themes. There's Google. The last tip I want to touch on is a great one, I think. Talks about mixing it up. So you invite maybe the same people over and over and over to your house, and this all brings it back to being inclusive. And I know for me personally, I try my best to be as inclusive as possible. I'm not a big fan of cliques or anything like that. So, and I feel that as we grow up, as we get married, if you live in the same town, people become just, I don't know, not as inclusive. You kind of roll together in pairs. If you get married, your husband and wife, you roll together in pairs. It becomes hard to kind of step away as a solo individual to go someplace. So if you are a host, I would express to you to help break that stigma. And how you can do this is a couple different reasons. If you're having a dinner party, say you invited some guests and they come in pairs, maybe make seating arrangements where they don't sit next to the person they came with. I love doing that. That's the best. Mixing it up. Separate those people. Another one is ask people outside of your inner onion to come. Just ask people. Ask some random people that maybe here's the thing, like Facebook is great, right? It's great. It's also the devil. Well, the jury's out. We'll see what happens with this metaverse. I'm just so, I'm just terrified for mankind. But anyways, I'm just saying, how many friends do you have on Facebook, right? You have a ton of friends on Facebook. Okay. From those friends on Facebook, how many of those people would you meet for coffee? Actually, let's take this a step back. How many of those people, if you saw at a party, you would recognize and say hello? Okay. And then how many of those friends would you ask to go for coffee or go for a walk? Okay. Okay. And then how many of those friends would you invite into your home? If your answer isn't, automatically like a lot of them, maybe just take a moment and think why. It's probably not that you don't like that person, or, it's probably not that it's probably that you don't see them in the real world. You don't look into their eyes, and that can make very awkward experiences for people. And it takes a very strong person to step outside their comfort zone and invite people that maybe would never be invited. So I will give a suggestion. So the other week, was it last week? I had an open house at my house, and I made an event for it, and I had a theme. It was building a puzzle, because there's nothing more fun than a bunch of people building a puzzle. It's like the ultimate for me. Anyways. And I purposefully invited some friends that A, I'd never seen for a while, or B, we've had a close connection on Facebook. We've talked on Messenger. Maybe we even had a Zoom, but they've never been in my house. or I've never met them outside intentionally. And, some showed up, some did not. And I am going to continue to do that because I know how it feels from either side. Whether you're the guest and someone invited you, there's going to be a moment where you're like, I've never been over their house before. Oh, God, what if I don't know anyone, right? Like, what if I don't know anybody and it's awkward, or like what do I do? Blah, blah, blah. This is where all of this transparency comes in, of having these clear ideals of what you're doing and having this inclusive shared space where maybe you'll meet a new friend, right? I personally believe that your home should be this welcoming space. I think the greatest achievement that you can have with owning a home is knowing that people that you know that they are welcome there. Like, they're totally welcome there. There's no awkwardness. It's like, oh, yeah, hey, I'm going to such and such's home and I'm going to bring a bottle of wine and who knows, I'll make a new friend and stay for a couple hours and it'll be great, right? There's not like, ugh, I don't know anybody, it's going to be weird. Like, everybody's just going to be standing around like weird. I don't know. It brings it back to that inclusivity. So as a host, I would say try to look outside of your sphere of inner onion friends, and include some people that you might not have ever included. I met these two guys. Oh man, it was the greatest thing. I was dog sitting my friend's dog Tiger, and I went to a coffee shop, and Tiger looks like a mogwai. So these two dudes from Carnegie Mellon, they saw that he looked like a mogwai, and we were laughing about it. And then we talked about board games. And I just happened to be hosting board game night the next night, and I totally invited them. And they came, and we had the best time. Two new guys showed up. They were younger. That's another thing for hosting, but that's another episode. Is like, don't let age be a thing. Diversify your group. Get some young people. Get some old people. Get all the people. Make it welcoming. Anyways, I'm not going to harp on that, but you know what I'm saying. All right, I'm going to switch really quick because this episode's getting long because I had a lot to say and my armpits are sweating because I'm very passionate about this subject. This is for the guests. So it's pretty long on the host side. For the guest side, I am just going to touch on a few things that you should already know, but I feel like some guests do not. Here are some tips to guarantee you'll be invited back to someone's home, to my home. No, in general, to anybody's home. These should be pretty clear. Always assume take off your shoes. That's like number one. You walk in, always assume. Number two, bring something to share. There's a reason why these old quotes still exist. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Certain things that people say. Never show up empty-handed. Just don't. You want to share something with other people, and you don't want to mooch off other people. And as we talked about at length before, it's exhausting hosting. So please bring something to share, whatever it is. Offer to help. Offer to help. And I'm going to be so bold as demand to help. As I talked about with hosting, a lot of hosts do not want to accept help. So I will tell you what I do when I go over someone's house is I will ask specifically what I can do. In the kitchen, I was like, what can I do to help you? And if they say, and I know it, there's kind of like this like blown off, oh no, you're fine. Go have a seat. You're fine. No. It's right then and there that I change my tactic and I say, listen, because this is actually true. Listen, I have idle hands. I need to help. I really want to be a part of this. Give me a task. So offer that, because even if you offer to help and the host says, don't worry about it, there's something that you can do. Whatever it is, set the table, like, doesn't matter what it is. Just throw it out there. In the same vein, I spoke earlier about having that Italian Sunday dinner where everybody helped, and that was kind of a lie. The women helped. This is going to be a touchy subject for some, but I don't give a rat's ass. The women helped. And I think we're all pretty much past the days where the men will sit after dinner and the women clean up. If you're a guy listening to this, A, kudos to you. And I hope you host a party. Yay. B, pick up a dish. Pick up your dish. If you have a dish and you ate off of it, take it to the garbage can, clean it off, take it to the sink at the very least, but then roll up those sleeves and help wash a dish, or help put something away, or help write something, just do it. Because yeah, I'm gonna leave that right there. You know what I'm saying. Men cook, men clean. Just, we're all in this together. Everybody help out. Everybody. My next one is, don't be if you are the guest, maybe host the next event. So offer up to reciprocate, right? Like, someone has invited you into their home. Maybe say, hey, I would love to have you over sometime. No, just saying, throwing it out there. That's just one of my tips. This is just me. Another tip that you can do, and this one's kind of controversial, is you can ask to bring a friend. If you're having a game night, like, don't bring someone and not tell the host. That kind of sucks, right? Especially for counting. You have to have certain types of games. It's a whole thing. But you can ask if you can bring a friend. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a really lovely thing, because it's how people expand their circles. So be like, hey, do you mind if I bring a friend with me? And don't be offended if you're the host and be like, oh, why would they want to bring them in? No, I think it's a lovely thing. Obviously, use your common sense. If you're having an intimate dinner party, you're not going to bring a friend. But get me? You got me. I mean, if you don't pick up on that, I can't help you. Oh, yeah. Couple other things. 3 more things. French goodbye if it's a big party. Just saying, don't give the long goodbye. Just silently make your way out if you're a guest. Don't bring the party down, and then the domino effect happens where everybody's like, oh, okay, well, I guess one person's leaving, so I guess I have to leave, and it's a good time. Just French goodbye that. On the opposite side of that, make sure you read the room if you're a guest, and don't overstay your welcome. If your host is yawning and tired, just take the hint. Just go home, Another one to do and I'm just going to leave it with this, is always send a follow-up text. You don't need to send a card, although that's very classy, and I'm terrible about doing that, but I love receiving them. Sending a follow-up text after you've been invited over someone's home is a really lovely way to say, just thank you for sharing your space with me. And it tells the host that you had a good time, that that maybe you want to come back again. That's it, folks. That's all I got. And obviously there's a lot of ideas when it comes to hosting an event. These are just some of my opinions. For me personally, I want the experience. I love to be involved, to help. those are the memories for me that make the best times. And I put this podcast out there because I just really hope that it speaks to somebody and they do it. So I would love, oh my goodness, I would love so much to hear from you guys. If you are a host, if you are a guest, what you think of this, like, if you have any tips, like throw some tips out there. I would love to hear tips because these are things that I put in my back pocket and I use every day. So, or tell me different party themes that you had. Like maybe you had a party and it was just the best, and I would love that idea. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope your next hangout is joyful. I hope your holidays are joyful, and I will see you in the new year. Keep it moving, everybody.